Hello and welcome to a tutorial video on utilizing workflows in Infor Document Management. Workflows enable automation of a business process. Both Infor Document Management and workflows are both parts of the Infor OS platform. In this video, we'll go over a use case of how to use a workflow with document management. Imagine if your company required any purchase order of over $10,000 to be uploaded to your document repository, and you wanted to show it was approved or rejected by a purchase manager. This would be a good scenario to use a workflow. Once the document was uploaded to IDM, and if you had a proper workflow set up, you could send it out for approval, receive the approval, and then send that document ahead for further steps. Don't worry about following along in creating the workflow. At the end of this video, I'll refer you to a nice example package at our Infor Marketplace to allow for hands-on experience. Go to the Control Center and under Administration, click Value Set. For the document type I'm about to create, I'm setting up one value set, Simple PO Status. Let me first show you how to create one. Before we start on creating a workflow, let's first create a document type for the workflow we're going to implement together. Navigating to the Control Center and clicking on Document Type, the document type we'll make is going to be rather simple. We'll call it Simple PO Document, and here I've made the attribute Simple PO Status to keep track of its approval status. For the ACLs, I'll create two. One that is locked to the regular user, only allowing them to be able to read the document and check it in but not out. The other ACL will allow them to create and edit as they please. For both, the PO Status attribute will be locked so they can't edit it. The Creation ACL I'll set as the default. Don't forget to add roles and make sure to allow the administrator access just in case of accidents. Now to set up a workflow, you'll want to navigate the Ion desk in your tenant. The example I'll be implementing in this video is a basic purchase requisition workflow. A purchase order will be uploaded to IDM and we'll send it to the purchase manager for approval. Now let us go through setting up this workflow together. If you're new to Infor OS workflows, check the linked video for a live stream on workflow basics. We'll want to click on Start here and add some parameters that our document type has in the form of attributes. Workflow parameters contain data that can be used in various steps of the workflow, with each step having access to the complete set of them. Parameters either start with an input already or are given an initial value. The values for the output parameters will be reported back to the initiator of the workflow, IDM in this case. Next up is drawbacks. For those unfamiliar with drawback, it's just a method of returning to the source of a given data point, IDM. We'll just call it workflow drawback here. For application, we'll click on the drop-down menu and select IDM, and then view will be content document view. For logical ID, type in this value. Scroll down a bit more and set PID to the parameter PID that we made earlier. Now let's get started on the next step of this workflow, the task. Grab one of the task panes and connect it to start. Type in the name of the message and the content of it. In content, I've chosen to move these items to the right so they'll be displayed in the message that's sent. In actions, you'll want to create the buttons available to who this workflow will be sent to. I'll make two options, approve and reject, and so we'll add those in and set the value appropriately to each of them. In distribution, you'll want to set up who must approve. I've set myself, but using the example I talked about before, you'd put the purchase manager. You could even set a group instead of just single users if you're wanting the approval request to reach a larger audience. Now grab the blue decision pane from the workflow modeler above and connect it to approval task. You'll want to add a new condition. We'll call it approval decision here, and we have the parameter set to Simple PO Status. We're looking for that to equal approved. After setting that, you'll be able to hit the drop-down menu for Use Condition and select it. Now grab one of the orange notification models and set it right after. This will send the notification when the document gets approved. I'll set up a message here, and in the Content tab, I'll choose which parameters I want to be displayed, such as the workflow drawback to link to the document, and then set it up so that whoever initiated the workflow will get notified if it was approved or not. We'll do all this on the other side before when the document gets rejected and change it accordingly to reflect that. We'll also add another set parameter pane here, and in that we'll change the ACL to the previous creation one. I want to unlock the document and allow the user who submitted it the ability to edit it and resubmit it later. This parameter will set specifically for the activation policy we're about to implement. It's only required if you plan to set up the activation policy I'll show up later. Now go to the Control Center and click on ION Configuration. You'll want to make sure ION connection and your document type are both enabled. Now on the right of your document type, hit the plus button and add in the values and corresponding parameters to make sure everything lines up correctly. For the ACLs, we'll have the document be set to our after approval ACL after it's been started, and if the workflow fails, we'll set it back to creation. Everything but simple PO status will be input parameters. As a side note, the workflow drawback we put in earlier won't work if the person clicking it doesn't have ACL permissions to view the document. These next few steps are rather simple. All we need to do is upload a document to the document type we just created and then start the workflow for it. After uploading it, just click Start Workflow and select the one we created. Give it some time after that and you should receive a notification about a document needing approval. At some point, your inbox will receive the message and the task will appear in there. If you set it up, you'll also receive an email. To get straight to it, open your inbox and click on the notification. You can click on the workflow drawback and that'll route you to the document for you to inspect. Now all you have to do is hit approve or hit the three dots to select reject. Let's quickly talk about activation policies. Right now we have everything set up that if we wanted to send a document for approval, we'd have to manually click a few buttons and send that document on. There is an option of creating an activation policy though, something that would allow these documents to automatically be sent to the workflow. A nice option for when you might be uploading a lot of documents at once. So going back to ION Desk, click on Activation Policies on the left, hit the plus button, and let's work on creating one. The name and the description you can put what you please. Policy type will select Start Workflow, and then below that we'll find and select the workflow we created. For Document, open up the drop-down menu and select Content Document. Now for attributes, you must select at least one and keep in mind that the data type of that attribute must correspond to the workflow parameters you made earlier, and you'll need to fill every parameter we made in the workflow. For the attribute value, I'll select it and click Filter at the top right to specify which document type attribute I'm looking for. Now moving on to condition. I have it set here that when PO status is empty, I want this activation policy to go off. You could certainly change this to go off for different scenarios too, such as a specific document name. And all that's left is the parameter mapping, setting the parameters to an attribute each. Now we just have to turn on the activation policy after this. Now here I'm creating an ACL rule. An ID is detected and there will always be one. This will change the document's ACL to the locked one, locking the author out and not allowing any further edits to the document. This will trigger as soon as the document is uploaded, and I'm setting only for the activation policy. Now all that's left is to upload a document, and as you can see here, I have the same setup with my test user and manager accounts to show you the process. For more resources on Infor Document Management, check out the video description below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to keep an eye out for future tutorials.